Welcome back. So for the last 9 explainers, we've been deep diving into how investors, partners, and regulators are pulling back the curtain on AI, basically creating a whole new playbook for due diligence. Now in our final installment, we're going to put it all together. Let's get right to it. This is the roadmap for closing that gap between what people think you do and what you actually do.
But first, you know the drill. Here comes the mandatory disclaimer. This is our final part of the 10-part overview of the research report from Virtualization Options LLC. And it's super important to remember, these explainers, well, they only scratch the surface of the full report. They are for informational purposes only. This isn't legal, financial, or investment advice, and it comes with no warranty whatsoever. All right, let's start with a question that really gets right to the heart of everything we've been talking about. The age where you could just manage perception, spin a good story, that's over. It's done. So the real question for every leader today is this: are you actually ready for the transparency revolution? Because it's already here. Because that's the new reality we are all living and working in. This whole roadmap is designed to tackle this fundamental shift in how business is done, the end of being able to tightly control your own narrative.
Think about it. Yesterday's playbook was pretty straightforward, right? You shaped your story with press releases, some slick marketing, and demos that were, let's just say, carefully curated. But today's reality is a completely different world. Stakeholders now have this fire hose of unfiltered information. They're using open source intelligence, they're reading every single employee review, and they're doing deep technical verification to find the ground truth. That old playbook, it's totally obsolete. Now, facing this new reality can feel, well, a little daunting. And that's exactly why the philosophy here isn't about some frantic top-to-bottom, burn-it-all-down overhaul. No, instead it's about taking a deliberate, strategic journey.
And this quote just nails the core idea. The report makes it crystal clear success comes from following a deliberate roadmap. You build momentum with some early, tangible wins. If you try to do this massive transformation overnight, you're almost guaranteed to get change fatigue, and frankly, you'll probably fail. This is all about sustainable, systematic improvement.
So, where does a journey like this even begin? Well, Phase 1 is all about assessing and prioritizing. And it starts where all real change has to start, with a good, long, honest look in the mirror.
This phase really breaks down into 2 pretty simple but absolutely critical first steps. First, you have to understand exactly where you are today. No sugarcoating. And second, you've got to be smart and strategic about where you focus your efforts first to get the biggest bang for your buck.
Now, what does an honest assessment actually mean? This is not a superficial check-in. We're talking a deep dive into your AI governance, a real look at your technical infrastructure, and an analysis of your culture. But most importantly, it's about identifying those gaps between what your tech can actually do and what your marketing team claims it can do. Okay, once you have that honest assessment, the next step is to prioritize. And the keyword here is momentum. You want to focus on quick wins in the areas that matter most, either where your risk is highest or where that credibility gap is widest. You solve these problems first, and it shows the whole organization that change is possible, and it creates the energy you need for the longer journey ahead.
So let's move into Phase 2, where this all starts to come together. After you assess, it's time to build and cultivate. This is where you lay the real, solid foundations of credibility, the kind that can actually withstand that tough external scrutiny.
This phase really rests on 3 pillars. You have to invest in the right tech, develop effective processes through what's called embedded governance, and, this one is critical, cultivate a culture of psychological safety for your people.
So let's be real. You cannot manage modern AI risk with a spreadsheet. It is just impossible. You have to build the technical capabilities for real testing, robust monitoring, and even automated documentation. That's what allows you to manage risk systematically and at scale.
Next up is governance. But look, this is not about creating some slow, bureaucratic committee that just says no to everything. The goal of embedded governance is to weave lightweight, smart checks and balances directly into the development workflow itself. You want to make it easier for your teams to do the right thing than it is for them to take a shortcut.
And finally, culture. Your people are your best early warning system, period. But they're only going to speak up if they feel safe. And that means leadership has to walk the walk, create really clear channels for raising concerns, and visibly, publicly, reward employees who thoughtfully point out risks, even if it slows a project down. Okay, so once you've built that strong internal foundation, it's time for the final phase of implementation. Align and engage. This is where you connect all of that internal excellence to build real, lasting external trust.
And this phase has 4 key steps. It's about documenting your work, aligning your marketing, proactively engaging with stakeholders, and then creating a cycle where you're always improving.
Let's break down those first 2. Step 6 is about creating the proof, the comprehensive, visible documentation of your governance and your standards. Then, and only then, do you move to Step 7, adjusting all your marketing and public positioning to honestly reflect your current capabilities, not your future hopes and dreams. Substance first, communication second.
Now for the final steps. Here's the thing. Confident, well-run organizations, they don't fear due diligence. They welcome it. They make it easy. And you have to remember, this work is never done. Governance is a continuous improvement project that evolves with the technology and the rules. It's not some one-and-done fix.
So what is the big payoff for all of this hard work? Well, this isn't just about avoiding disaster. The ultimate advantage goes way beyond just mitigating risk. It moves you into the realm of real, competitive dominance.
The goal of this entire roadmap is to achieve what the report calls authentic credibility. And just look at this definition. It's a sustainable competitive advantage. It is not built on hype. It's built on proven excellence, technical maturity, and transparency. In today's skeptical market, this is what wins.
And this quote from the report's conclusion really says it all. In a world that is just drowning in AI hype, being the one organization that can actually prove its claims, well, that's not just a defensive move. It is the ultimate offensive strategy. Authentic credibility is the new competitive high ground.
And that advantage, it translates into very real business outcomes. Organizations with authentic credibility can command higher prices because customers trust them. They become a magnet for top talent who want to do responsible work. They get access to capital on better terms, and they win the kind of strategic partnerships that their less credible competitors can only dream about.
So as we close out this series, it really all comes down to a fundamental choice for every single leader. You can keep playing the old game of perception management, a game that has diminishing returns and is getting riskier every day. Or you can do the hard work of building authentic credibility. And the choice you make, well, that won't just define your next quarter, it's going to define your entire legacy.